Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.
What's good, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Live Wire Sports Media, and it is your Freestyle Friday edition. So I got a good one for y'all. I got a really good one for y'all today. Yeah, let's check it out. So check this out. So the new LeBron James, Maverick Carter, European League, Saudi League that is set to launch next year in November. It could spell doom for Unrivaled and potentially other startup leagues. And this is probably one of the reasons why that Unrivaled really wanted the WNBA to have equity into his company to pretty much save his company. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Unrivaled has went up in valuation from last year to this year, but no, it didn't. Because the fact of the matter is, doing evaluations was more investors putting money into Unrivaled to keep it afloat. Unrivaled still needs top dollars. They need a big company to back them to keep them afloat, which that's why I think a lot of this with the CBA stuff going on and Naphessa Collier and Breonna Stewart, it's all of this. It's so much craziness that's going on. Unrivaled needs somebody to hold them up, to keep them upright, because they're not going to be able to keep themselves upright by themselves. Especially when you have people coming into the game. Now, a lot of people say that this new league with LeBron James still is kind of like how Live Golf is with the PGA Tour. But the PGA Tour and Live are still working to this day to merge with each other. Now, some of the players do play on both sides. You know what I'm saying? But eventually they all going to merge. Now, could that happen to LeBron League down the line? I don't think so. I don't know. Could be. Depends on how the money talk. But I know for certain, no, one thing for sure, two things for certain. No, Caitlin Clark will not be playing in LeBron's league. And a lot of people I have seen on X kept posting the information saying, oh, yeah, if Caitlin Clark go over here, the WNBA is doomed and all of that. I mean, the WNBA been doing fine without Caitlin Clark, and I'm sure if Caitlin Clark decided to leave, it still would be all right. Nevertheless, I look at it like this, guys. Caitlin Clark is very dedicated to the WNBA. And I said this before, and I said it again. Her dream was to play in the WNBA. Her dream was not to play overseas. Her dream was not to play in another league. Her dream was not to start her own league. Maybe when she retired, yeah, that's something to look at, but not while she still has a career. She has a whole life ahead of her, and people seemingly to want to put Caitlin Clark in every mechanism that it is instead of just allow her to be herself. She is a very loyal person, very loyal. As you seen last weekend, she's a diehard Chief fan. Even though the coach gave her a jersey, she didn't wear it. That's loyalty. She's loyal to the WNBA, even though the WNBA have not treated her very well and kindly. But she wants to help grow women's basketball. She wants to help grow women's sports. And it has to take a hell of a measure for her to leave the WNBA. It's not about the money for her. And that's the point I keep trying to make to people. It's not about the money to her. Because if that's the case, she could have went to the Big Three, or she could have went to Unrivaled in year one. Caitlin Clark makes more money off the court than doing a speaking gig. She's her. Everybody wants a piece of Caitlin Clark. That's the problem. Everybody wants a piece of her. Caitlin might seem young, but she ain't dumb by a long shot. She know people want her popularity to make money off of her. It's the economical way. It's the American way. You know what I'm saying? So let's jump to this Twitter stuff real quick because I want to show y'all something. This LeBron league is pretty much just going to facilitate a lot of things. So so quick and just to let you know that um Burnett and Candace Parker are part of this LeBron league. Atlanta Beard, I ask, Atlanta Beard and Candace Parker, they was former teammates and everything. You got Steve Young, Novak Djokovic, I think that's the tennis player, if I'm not mistaken, and Steve Young, the quarterback for ex quarterback for the 49ers, and ex and ESPN analyst. So Salone Stevens, I don't know. Solane Stevens, I don't know who that is, so I'm not going to even try to pretend. But anyway, interestingly, the WNBA sources tell Athletic that a new entity has already started negotiating with players. Negotiating with players in the WNBA. Now, it could be ex-players, it could be players that has been out the league, it could be them hardship players, it could be any type of players, guys. Any type of players. It could be any type of players. You know what I'm saying? Any type. But they've been negotiating with these players and they already have signed contracts. Now, I did read the article and I get to the article a little bit that they did say they will be announcing these players shortly. The timeline for the WNBA could not be worse. Consider that due to the new CBA negotiations, almost the entire league are not on a rookie scale contract, are free agents right now. Burnett promises salaries multiple higher than what exists in women's basketball. No, he's saying sports in general, not but basketball specifically. Hmm. So the new league has staff in place. Former basketball star Elena Beard will serve as chief basketball officer. And among the growing list of investors and advisors, such as big names as Candace Parker, Beard's former teammate, Steve Young, Novak Djokovic, and Selene Stevens. The new league will be headquartered in Singapore. Now that's interesting because if it's going to be in Singapore, I mean, how will that work? How will that work? Anyway, so here's the details. Here's what we know so far about the league called Project B. The new basketball venture was found by former Google and Facebook executive Brady Burnett and his friend Golf Princeton, co-founder of Skype. And nobody uses Skype anymore. I mean, it's still around, but I have not used Skype since what, the early 2000s or whatever the case might be, something like that. Burnett told Sam at the Athletic that the new league is set to begin with the Women's Basketball League. So the first part of it is going to be the Women's League, and then they're going to work on the men's side later on. They want to get the women's side up first. Because of its immense growth of the interest in the sport, it will feature 6 teams, 11 players each, that play 7 two-week tournaments, in cities across Asia, Europe, and America. And it is already 2 years in the making. Not bad at all. So they've been working on this for a hot minute. Now, this the kicker, guys. This the kicker. And this is why I say Unrivaled is pretty much on life support right now as we speak because of this league. And it said conflict with Unrivaled. The founders said the league is set to start next fall, but will not conflict with the WNBA season. Instead, it will run from November through April, making it a major conflict with Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 league that enters the second season in 2026. Now, if this league was starting this year, Unrivaled would have been dead. If this league were to start November this year and ran into next year, Unrivaled would have been dead in the water. It would have been dead in the water. So, but since it starts in 2026, the end of the next year, going into Unrival's third year, possibly a third year, then that's going to be trouble for them. So, Brenner says that although it won't initially conflict with the NBA, it will eventually eventually move its season to compete directly with the league. Depends on how far the league goes. This reminds me more of how Lift Golf did the PGA. They didn't want to compete with it at first, but then they started doing some stuff. This is kind of like what it is. Originally, LeBron James and Maverick Carver was said to be spearheading the men's side of the B project, but Athletic reports that they no longer a part of the project, which might explain why the new league is concentrating more on the women's game first. Now, so what does this mean? It says Project B could deal another blow to the struggling NBA, WNBA collective bargaining agreement. While the league wants to exchange higher salaries for exclusivity, they could never match what Project B is capable of. I mean, when you got money from Saudi, even Dubai, when you they got their own money, you can never compete with people that money never ends. It's just simple as that. Their money never ends. Their money would never end. So you cannot compete with that. That is something that you be like, oh man, how can I compete with this? You can't compete with that because the fact of the money is endless. So and it says that for example, if the league offers Angel Reese $50 million per year, it will might require her to be the exclusive to it and not play in the WNBA. Now that's going to be pretty interesting because, say for instance, if they was to offer Angel Reese $50 million or Caitlin Clark $50 million, we won't get to see them in the WNBA. They will be overseas for 6 months out of the year. Now, again, I say this because to me, I feel like, yeah, Caitlin Clark could be a billionaire playing in this league, but at the same time, her devotion of being close to home means more. Now, if our family say, "Well, hey, we can move over there with you for 6 months," but does she want that? She want that? Does she want to have an independency? Would she want to be able to, if she has speaking engagements, her flying off and all of this stuff? That's going to be a lot for her. Angel Reese, she'll go wherever the money is. I think for her, she don't care. She just like to be a part of something. So, but it's going to be crazy to see. Now, it says it might require her to be exclusive to the league itself, but not play in the WNBA. Project B will employ 66 players. That is almost 15 more, about 15, about what? I think Unrivaled has 48. They're supposed to go up to 56 with as reserves. So that's probably about 10 more than Unrivaled. And if they increase salaries 10 times more, which would be extremely low given the Saudi fund, how will players who make 150K in the WNBA turn down 1.5 million? I don't see them. That would be hard. But if the WNBA reaches the collective bargaining agreement and they go from 150K to probably about 3, and that's a little bit better. But they still won't probably top players might make 1 million. Military players. I just don't see a bunch of people leaving the W just to go play overseas. You're still playing overseas, no matter how you look at it. Or in the case, someone like Paige Beckers who will make 100K in her first 4 years in the league, how could she turn down 10 million, 20 million? What does that mean for Unrivaled? Well, will players really want to be in Asia for 6 months of the year. And that's my thing. Players got to realize how are they willing to be in there for a year? Are they willing to be in that league for 6 months of the year? That's going to be the hard part. I just don't see them doing that. I just don't see a lot of players doing that or trying to be in that league that long. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to be very hard for me to fathom players want to be over there. Now, like, I think mostly older players. I don't think some of these young talent, because they got NIL deals, they got a lot of backing with shoe companies and all this stuff. They came in the league with money already from the name, image, likeness. But how will this be televised? That's the one thing you have to think about. How will it be televised? Who will be the media rights deal behind it? How will these games be shown? Because you got to think overseas, you might be asleep over here, but they playing a game over there, and then you might miss it. You might have to see it on tape delay. So the coverage is going to be a little bit different. So it's something to think about. But to me, I think eventually it's going to overtake Unrivaled. Now, I did pull up the article on it real quick, and I'm just going to go over it real fast with y'all. I'll go over it real fast with y'all so I can really look at this real quick. Project. There you go. So, and I just came to this little part right here because it says that I read that part about it starting in November, and going through April, and it's not going to overlap with the WNBA season, but it will with Unrivaled and other upstart basketball leagues, mainly the Upstart League that I have talked about a lot, but that's a more of a development type of basketball league for players and stuff. So Brennan said the league hopes to reach to many basketball fans who live outside the United States, while the league will initially avoid the WNBA season. He doesn't discount that it could eventually become a competitor to the WNBA. But if you're still going to have stars in the WNBA, such as the Asia Wilsons, the Caitlin Clarks, the Paige Beckers, and the Angel Reeses, I don't see how this league going to be able to compete with them, compete with the WNBA, because you would need a star. Say you get somebody like Sabrina Ionescu over there, or you got like Juju Watkins over there. Then I could see it could be a little bit more competitive with the WNBA. But I just don't see it going to be oh gosh, I don't see how it could be a friendly competitor to the WNBA, because the WNBA is still going to have its top stars no matter what, and that's why I kept saying that Unrivaled really needs that. They really need the WNBA more than the WNBA needs them, and by them trying to stronghold a position against the WNBA, it's going to hurt them, because this Unrivaled can't stand by itself. They have TNT as their media rights and HBO. But you got to think about this. When you have Disney as your biggest media rights and you have NBC, that trumps anything that you do, because you are able to show more. And so that's why I was saying that for this new league with LeBron doing, I wonder how it's going to operate, for them, for the media rights deal, maybe TNT get involved, or somebody else, Amazon Prime, that's another one. Netflix, that's another one. You know what I'm saying? So, Peacock, who knows what could be behind these doors? So, but all in all, and see, when Carter was involved, there was comparisons being made to the controversial Live Golf League, in a large part because of its presence of the Saudi partners and the prospect of James' possible involvement. Several sources close to the star players indicate that there is a genuine curiosity on their part to see where this league goes, with players and their agents drawn by the allure of making even more money in this league, and potential being given the kind of equity stakes that aren't available in the NBA. But Carter lacked the Carter's lack of involvement could be a game changer on the front. Still, Burnett do not dispute that the Project B could expand into men's basketball, including a possible launch as soon as next fall. We are going to focus on the women's side at this point. He said, I think it's natural to assume that we would do all other things afterwards. The WNBA standard player contract specifically bars players from playing in any other league if a player signs a deal with a team. Burnett says it will cross that bridge on other leagues or any other potential conflicts in the future. So basically, if you play in this league, if you play in that new league, you can't play in no other league. And that's why the WNBA itself doesn't want players playing in other leagues. If you play in the WNBA, your sole purpose is just to play in the WNBA. That's like I said before. That's like the NFL. You can't play in the off season. You're on a contract with the NFL, but you're trying to play in the XFL or the USFL. It doesn't work that way. So, and that's why I just think that a lot of players have to really sit down and see what's the best turning point for them in their careers. I do not see Caitlin Clark playing in this league. I don't see her leaving the WNBA just to play in this league, because you're not going to see her play basketball for a long time. You probably see her stop playing in November. She has to change everything around, right? She stopped playing in November to April. Okay, the off season. She gets to do whatever she wants for the summer, but then she won't play no basketball until the fall again. So again, I just don't see her playing in this league. I don't really see Angel Reese doing it either. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. And definitely, I don't see Paige or Angel Wilson doing it either. I think more so the older players that's in the WNBA that want to make more money. I think they'll be the ones. I think the young talent because say for instance that the WNBA take the players that they already signed, right? The WNBA could do a rebranding of its own and pivot back to young talent. Focus on the young talent, the new young talent that comes in the league. Create a whole new collective bargaining agreement, have a new WNBA PA staff, remodel everything up. And then you have players like the Juju, all of these young players that come into the league. Then you say, I offer them this much more and whatever. And then you push the WNBA a little bit further out to be more younger and vibrant and up with the times. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, like I said before, I don't see Caitlin Clark, for one, joining this league. But anyway, let me know what you think. But this league is going to threaten Unrivaled. Make no mistake about it. Unless Unrivaled gets the backing of the WNBA to be like an equity, be a partner in it, I don't see this league lasting very long, because this new league right here is going to hurt Unrivaled in a big way, because players are going to look at it and they say, hey, I want to play over there. You know, and some of them that does play overseas in the off season won't have no problem playing in that league at all. Players that's already play overseas, that's in Unrivaled, that usually will go in overseas instead of Unrivaled, they will probably do that. But I just don't see like somebody like a Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. But again, I say for Angel Reese purposes, she might soon. And again, like Angel Wilson, you don't see her doing it. So if you don't get those big stars like that, it's just, I don't see the competition. But it's going to be interesting to watch down the line and see what happens. Anyway, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Unrivaled, you could be on life support as we know it. As your battle with the WNBA, you might need to be looking over your shoulders right now, because another league is about to come, and it's coming fast. Until the next episode, you know what it is.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire. It's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it. So official, like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back. Whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire. Sports and entertainment. Let's go.